Hey, Billy, let's bring in our next guest, Al Sickle. Al, how's it going, buddy?
It's a pleasure.
Nice to meet you. Al's the president of Vietnam.
Vice president. I'm a vice president of Chapter 391 in Sonora and at-large director of the California State Council.
For the Vietnam veterans.
Of America.
Okay. Now, you were in Vietnam?
Yep.
One tour?
3.
3 tours. Infantry? What'd you do?
Can't tell you.
Okay. 3 tours in Vietnam, and you come back. When did you start getting involved with the Vietnam Vets program?
Oh, God. In 2007, I didn't even know about them. It turns out that they started out as Veterans Against the War until the war ended in 75, and then they had nothing to protest or be against, so they decided to start an advocacy group, which we have pretty much a little bit over 100,000 members. There's chapters in every state, and the Philippines, Australia, Guam, and what we do is our mission statement is never again will one generation of veterans turn their backs on another.
Because that happened to the veterans from Vietnam?
Oh, yeah.
I was really young at that time. I saw a lot of sorrow around because of it, but I didn't really understand it. Can you explain that a little bit to me?
Well, it turns out that we were the first 6 o'clock news war. Prior to us, all the publicity that the military got during wartime were government edited or DOD edited newsreels. You would see
to make the government look better because of the war,
and the military too. Yeah, sure. It was a propaganda thing so that people would be behind the war situation itself, not necessarily the soldiers themselves. But those newsreels they would show you people, the soldiers marching victoriously into a town, but they never showed you what it took to get there. Well, with us, we were the first ones on the 6 o'clock news. People having dinner, they saw real battles, real war, real people dying, and it just knocked their socks off. And which is what started the protest movement. And I really don't think that they were. Well, some people were against us, the soldiers, but I really don't think they were against us as much as they were against the war, which was an undeclared war.
Did you feel any when you got back after the war was over? Did you feel like people had turned their back on you?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was tough to get anything done by the VA. The older veterans had wanted nothing to do with us. God bless them. They went through the similar stuff that we did.
Because they were kind of brainwashed too by the media?
Well, the only thing the media showed was the reality. And nobody in this country, other than veterans, had seen, prior to this, had seen that
kind of
the
violence.
Actual stuff.
Kind of brutal violence.
Yeah, real stuff.
So when you got back, what kind of things did you feel?
Well, I marched in protests because we were never told why we were there. Still really don't know why we were there. And I lost 5 high school buddies that we graduated in 1966. And about, I think, 8 or 9 of us that were close together. I know a lot more probably went from the school, but 8 or 9 of us from the graduating class went, and only 3 came back. And as a matter of fact, next weekend I'm going to be participating in Sacramento in the reading of the names of the California killed in action in Vietnam. We start at 7 o'clock in the morning and go until we're done. I read the names, 15-minute segments, volunteers. And I get to talk about one of my friends. I honor each one of them each year. So
you came here today just to let people know about your organization?
Actually, I
came. You have an event coming up?
No, actually, I came to talk about a crowdfunding site that I put together. It took me about a year to get this thing together. And what we need to do is we need to recruit, train, and employ veteran service officers, because of they know what it's like, what the thing was like, and they can help these guys, especially the kids coming back now.
From the Middle East?
From the Middle East. There's 1.9 million veterans in California right now, and more all the time when they come back. A lot of them stay here. Problem is, they're not getting any help. They're not getting any mental or even physical help with problems that developed while they were there. And they spent so much time, much more time than us, and they're killing themselves at a rate of 60 to 80 a day.
60 to 80 suicides a day from these vets that are returning
And
from the Middle East.
They're kids, and they're just kids, and they're
So
lost.
sad.
They're not. It's more than sad. It's tragic. It's very tragic. And so I started this. I got this idea about a crowdfunding thing, and it's on a crowdfunding site called Indie, INDIE, GoGo, all one word, Indiegogo, and it's called "Will You Help Us Help Veterans and Their Families?" And I figured we put it out on Facebook and all out, everybody in emails, and even $5 or $10 from someone. If everybody helps us out, we can hire. We have only 2 in this whole state. We had 3, but because of funding, VSOs, veteran VSOs, and
VSOs,
veteran service officers.
Okay. There's only 3 in the whole state.
There's the government. The government appoints 1 for each county. So there's 68 of them.
But there's 1.9 million vets.
There's
it's quite a workload.
Well, yeah, if they get them help. There's also the DAV and the VFW. They also help people get their benefits and get mental and medical help from the VA. But the training that we give our people is so intense that the state said they can't afford to use the training regimen. And those 3, well, there were 3 last year. We just had to ask somebody to take leave, which is tragic, because their success rate is 80 to 90% of the benefits that they file for. The veterans get help. There's help for families, help for the children, and the PTSD is a real thing. It seems to be a buzzword, but it's real. I was diagnosed with chronic recurring PTSD, and it's an ugly trip, and it's not curable. I spent 10 weeks inpatient at the National Center for PTSD in Menlo Park, California. And the first thing they tell you when you get there, it's hard to get in that one. You got to be really messed up. The first thing they tell you when you get there is there's no cure. There is no cure. But thankfully they have a program that gave me and the other people that have gone through it, it gives them the tools to work through the problems that we have. Nightmares are bad, triggers are bad, things that I have a problem. I ride motorcycles, and I'm going down the road. I live in the mountains, and animals who are killed by traffic or however. But you smell that smell, especially in the heat of, pardon the expression, rotting flesh. And it just takes me right back. And then I have a problem for the rest of the day. But thankfully, I got the help from the VA. It took me 7 years to get my benefits.
Wow.
7 years. And only because the people that I gave the power of attorney to, they didn't know the right language. Unfortunately, there's the right words to put down on the paperwork so that it gets the VA's attention. The government, they don't train their people very well. We have that intensive 6 months training, and the 3 people last year wrote 11 point something million in benefits. That's cash in veterans and their families' pockets. Without that, suicides would be crazy. Speaking of that, the Vietnam veteran suicide rate, there were 58,000 plus men and women killed over there, and 220,000, roughly 220,000 suicides since then. That's almost 4 times the amount killed in war, and it's because of no help.
Indiegogo.
Indiegogo.com. The title of the site is "Will you help veterans and their? Will you help us help veterans and their families?" And just any small nominal, we'll take anything. $1, $5, 2 ways you can pay: PayPal or credit card, and it's tax deductible because we are a nonprofit organization.
Al Sickle, thanks for letting me sit here and talk to you, pal.
Thanks for the time.
Thanks for everything you're doing for the
vets. I really appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back on The Buzz. Stick around.